everybody and welcome to Jeff's Baking Blog. Today I'm going to make an easy malt loaf. I made a sticky malt loaf about 4 years ago and that recipe and video is on YouTube and on my blog. But I thought I would do another version today, very similar, and this is a lovely, rich, dense loaf. And the longer you store it, the stickier it becomes. Very, very good. In the UK, we can buy a malt loaf in the supermarkets, a brand name, which is very, very popular. This isn't quite the same as that. It's not quite as dark, but it tastes very, very similar. So I've started off by preheating my oven to 170 Celsius, that's 150 Celsius with a fan, 325 Fahrenheit. Now, and the reason that I can do that at this stage is that I've already prepared the fruit that goes into this loaf, but I'll show you the unprepared version, and then as we move on I'll get the prepared version as well. So I'll go on to the ingredients, and for this I have 250 grams, which is 1 2/3 cups of plain flour, based on scooping packed flour into a 250 milliliter cup. I have 200 grams of raisins, and I'm using these large flame raisins, but you can use any raisins. You could use sultanas as well if you wanted to, but I'm using these large raisins, and that works out at 1 2/3 cups. I have 100 grams of soft dried prunes, which is 7 to 8 soft dried prunes, which I have chopped up quite finely. These are going to disperse in the cake or the loaf. I have 150 grams, 7 tablespoons of malt extract, 40 grams, 2 tablespoons of black treacle or molasses. I have 2 medium eggs which I've lightly beaten, and that would be large eggs in the USA. 100 grams of dark brown sugar, that would be half a cup of tightly packed dark brown sugar. I have 2 grams, half a teaspoon of baking soda, and 4 grams, 1 teaspoon of baking powder. I also have here 150 millilitres of black tea, strong black tea. So that's been standing, I can take the tea bag out of there now. That's been standing, getting stronger for the last few minutes. And so what we actually have to do is soak the fruits in this tea. Now ideally you would want to soak this for 10 hours, and I already have a bowl prepared that I've done that, but I'll show you. You simply put the tea into a bowl and add in the prunes and the raisins and toss them around. Like that, and then leave them to soak for 10 hours. Well, I say overnight. If you do it in the evening and soak them overnight, they'll be ready for you the following morning. So that's all you have to do with that. So I'll put those to one side and we'll get on to the next step. And the next thing to do is to dissolve our sugar over some heat. So I'll put the sugar into a saucepan with the molasses and the black treacle, and I'm simply going to put that on a low heat and stir it constantly until the sugar has dissolved. So you don't need to see that. I'm simply going to put it on the low heat and keep stirring it until all the sugar has dissolved. Then I'll come back and we'll go on to the next step. So I have melted the sugar with the malt extract and the black treacle, and I'm just going to leave that to cool a little, and as that cools I'm going to sprinkle over my fruit the 2.5 grams of baking soda, and I'm going to toss that and mix it. And to help that, I just put my fruit in the microwave for 30 seconds just to warm it through, to help that mix in nicely. So I'm now going to leave that to one side as well, and I'm going to put the baking powder into the flour. I'm just going to stir that around with a whisk to get that mixed in. And I'm going to leave the fruit with the baking soda to sit for 10 minutes, and in 10 minutes time I'll come back and we will assemble everything into our batter for the loaf. I'm going to put the flour and the baking powder into a larger bowl, and then I'm simply going to pour into that the mixture of malt extract, black treacle and dark brown sugar, and then I'm going to put the fruit in with any excess liquid left from that as well. I'm going to mix those around until everything is fully combined. And I think that's mixed well enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my egg in as well now, my lightly beaten egg. And I'm going to mix that to get that combined and make the mixture looser. And that's nicely combined. So what I have here is a 2-pound loaf tin, and I've just put in a loaf tin liner. But if you don't have one of those, simply line the tin with baking paper, parchment paper, and then we're going to pour the mixture into that tin. And with the mixture in the tin, I'm just going to shake it to level it off a little bit, like that. and I'm going to put that into the oven, and I'm going to bake it for between 60 minutes and 75 minutes. It will rise up in the oven, and it will probably split on the top. These loaf cakes tend to split on the top like that when they rise up, and that's fine. And when a skewer poked into the centre comes out clean between 60 and 75 minutes, I take it out of the oven, and straight away, as soon as it's out of the oven, I'm going to brush a little more malt extract on the top. You don't have to do that, but I'm going to do it just to glaze it just that little bit. And then I'll leave it to cool completely in the loaf tin. And once it's cooled, I'll come back and cut it, and we'll have a taste of it. I baked the Easy Malt Loaf for an hour, and I tested it with a skewer, and the skewer came out with some batter attached to it, so it clearly wasn't cooked. So I baked it for a further 12 minutes, so for 72 minutes, and I tested it again, and it came out clean. So I took it out of the oven, and I've immediately brushed it with a little bit of extra malt extract, and this is what it looks like. It's cooled down in the tin, so I can take it out of the tin like that, and I could leave this wrapper on and just cut it like that, or I can take the wrapper off. And then I can slice it. So I've sliced the loaf, as you can see, and it looks very, very good. I've put some butter on one piece, and I'll have a taste of it. It has a lovely malty flavour, and you can also taste the molasses. Nice and fruity, very, very good. And this is the sort of loaf that if you wrap it and put it in an airtight container, it will get stickier as the days go by. So if you like it to be stickier than this, simply leave it for a couple of days before you eat it, and it will be even better than it is today. I should say that I saw this recipe in a book, The Great British Bake Off, and I've seen the same recipe on their website. I think it's a Prue Leith recipe. So this has worked out very well, and I hope you've enjoyed the video. And if you have, please give me the thumbs up below and click to subscribe to my YouTube channel. In the top right hand corner of the screen there will be an eye that you can click on, and that will take you to a link for the recipe, and I'll put a link below the video as well. And I'll be back with another recipe in a very near future. So until then, happy baking.